Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Sam. I'm a professional hairstylist, and here on my channel I like to share my life and my experiences as a hairstylist. And something that's really important to me and that I try to achieve in a lot of my videos is getting clients and hairstylists, cosmetologists on the same page. I feel like a lot of the times there is kind of a wall up because we as the professionals and the service providers have one perspective, and there's certain things that we understand that our clients don't necessarily get, and they see things a totally different way. And there can be a lot of miscommunication as a result of that. So what I like to do is just kind of educate, get conversations going so that we can share perspectives from both sides and get everybody to the same understanding and on the same page. So today's video, I want to talk about what you should do as a service provider, as a cosmetologist, if you have an unhappy client. How do you approach the situation? Because it can be a little bit awkward. Something that's really important to remember is that good customer service is key in this industry, and really any industry where you are dealing with the public. When people go to beauty school, they're mostly just focused on improving their skills and getting really good at hair, and they're just focused on like the technical stuff, and they're not really thinking so much about their communication and how they're actually interacting with their clients. And it's something that we're not really taught in beauty school. And I think having good communication skills and good customer service skills is what's gonna set apart a good stylist from an amazing stylist. So I always try to make it very clear to my clients from the beginning of their appointment up until the very end that I am open and I just want to make them happy. And if they have any questions or any concerns or just anything that they are unsatisfied with, I want them to come to me and I want them to feel comfortable being honest with me and telling me how they truly feel. A lot of the time I'll see stylists, and this was like even when I was just a client, like way before I ever went to beauty school, you get those hairstylists that the whole time they're reassuring you how beautiful your hair is looking and how amazing what they're doing is. So then by the time they're done, when they spin you around to look in the mirror and you don't love it, you feel terrified to speak up and say anything because they have been reassuring you this whole time that it's amazing and phenomenal and they love it and it's the best work they've ever done. And you're like, oh my God, like how do I tell them that I hate this? You're a human being, you're not a robot, you're gonna mess up every so often. And even if you don't mess up, like even if you are amazing and your skills are on point all the time, but we all have different preferences and different opinions. And so even if what you do is beautiful, the client just might not like it, or maybe it's not what they were expecting, or maybe there was a little miscommunication during your consultation and you thought that you were giving them what they wanted, but it turns out that it's not. Nothing drives me more crazy than people, and hairstylists specifically, who think that their shit doesn't stink and you can't tell them anything. So anyway, my first tip, number one, is stay calm and try to not take anything personally. Take it as constructive criticism and remain professional. Especially if the client is like really emotional and is getting crazy and is yelling and making a scene. By you like coming back at them with that same level of emotion and hostility, nothing is gonna get resolved. You need to remain calm and remain professional and not take it personally. And I know that can be hard to do. Some people are just naturally a lot more sensitive, and it's hard for them to hear that someone's unhappy with something that they do. I get that. And I think especially in the very beginning, like my first unhappy client, oh my God, it crushed my soul. Like I felt terrible. And I think in the beginning too, like I had a lot of mess ups and I was just being really hard on myself and feeling really, really down. But you gotta remember, it's natural and it happens to everybody. I mean, there are stylists who have been doing hair for 20 plus years and they still are occasionally gonna have somebody that's unhappy with something that they do. You just have to remember that it's not a personal attack on you. And even if you did mess something up, that doesn't mean that you're a terrible person or a terrible stylist. You also never want to talk down to your client. I had shared a story time video that one of my viewers sent in, and a client had came in, I think it was like her first time ever getting her hair done. She had gray roots and she wanted to get them covered up, so the stylist did that. And then a couple weeks later she came back in and was livid and was screaming and yelling, saying that the stylist told her that the hair color she was using was permanent, but she lied to her because now her gray roots are coming back in. AKA her hair was just growing and she had some regrowth. And she didn't understand the concept of that. and that she was going to need, even though the stylist explained to her that you're going to need to come in every, 6 to 8 weeks to get your roots touched up, she just got confused, didn't understand, and just got really upset and had a really emotional reaction. And she was amazing at calming her down and sitting her down and having a conversation and very kindly and professionally and respectfully re-explaining the whole regrowth situation, rather than like talking down to her and being like, are you stupid? You didn't realize that your hair grows? You didn't realize that you were gonna need to get it touched up? Like, I explained that to you already. Were you not listening to me? Are you deaf? Especially in a situation like that where you didn't even do anything wrong. It's just kind of like a lack of common sense on the client's part. It's very easy to like get annoyed and to get like kind of pissed off. But you can't do that. You have to treat everyone obviously with respect, but especially your client who is paying you. I mean, you don't have an income or a career without your clientele. Another thing to keep in mind is the customer isn't always right, despite what like customer service 101 would tell you, but you need to make them feel like they are. So again, going back to that example of the woman with the regrowth and the gray roots, it wasn't the stylist's fault at all. She didn't do anything wrong, because she even had a conversation and she explained to the woman that she was going to need to come in for touch-ups to get her roots done every few weeks. However, a great way to approach it, and I think this is what she did in that story time too, is take responsibility and take blame, even if it isn't your fault, but it just shows accountability. So for example, being like, I am so sorry that I didn't explain that thoroughly enough to you. Rather than being like, you're the one who just doesn't understand, you're the one who lacks common sense, take responsibility. Okay, I obviously didn't do my job in explaining it well enough to you. Our consultation wasn't thorough enough. We had some miscommunication. I didn't understand exactly what it was that you wanted. It's amazing how just making little changes to your verbiage and the words that you're using can make such a huge difference in the way that it's received and in the way that your client will respond to what you're telling them. And you always want to try to do your best to make it right, because if a client doesn't feel comfortable being honest with you and they don't feel comfortable coming back if they notice something that they're not happy with, guess what's going to happen? They're never going to come back. They're going to end up going to somebody else. And that's not what you want. You want to grow your clientele. You need good word of mouth to spread out there about you. You don't want people like having a bad view of you or leaving you bad reviews. The other thing too is, say I'm doing somebody's color and I notice as I'm blow drying their hair that there's a couple highlights that are looking kind of splotchy or weren't blended well enough, or maybe like the toner didn't take in a certain spot or something. It is my obligation and responsibility as a professional with integrity to stop right there and then, point it out. I mean, and you don't even have to bring it to your client's attention. Like, if say it's something that's in the back of their head and they can't see it, you don't have to tell them or like make a big deal about it and like freak them out. You could just easily say like, oh, you know what? 1 second, I just see one little spot. I just want to fix something really quick, or there's something that just didn't like take quite right. Come back over to the sink with me just for like a quick minute. That way, not only is it going to save you time in the future, because more than likely, even if they can't notice something when they're leaving the salon, when they go home later and they're washing their hair and styling it themselves and they're sectioning it to blow dry it, they're eventually going to notice that splotch, or somebody else is going to point it out to them, and they're going to be pissed that you let them leave like that. And then if they do end up coming back for you to fix it, it's like that's just extra time, when meanwhile you could have just stopped and fixed it right there and then before they left in the first place. Also, it just shows integrity. Like, if you will stop and point out, so this literally just happened to me yesterday. I made one of my clients platinum, and when I put the toner on her hair, it sucked that toner right up. And so I was rinsing it out and I was like, okay, it looks like a little bit too intense, but maybe it's because it's wet. So I blow dried a section and I was like not totally loving it. I was like, this is not what she wants. She's gonna feel like it's a little bit too silver. Let me bring her back over to the sink and clarify it and just take some of that toner out. I try to always do that. Like, I try to be as honest as possible. And if I notice something isn't looking right, I will fix it before I let them leave. I can't tell you how many times I have had new clients come to me that have gone to other salons in the area, and rather than going back and letting that stylist fix whatever the issue is, they decided to look elsewhere and they ended up coming to somebody else. And I mean, I'm happy to gain the new client, but I'm sure that the other stylist would have loved an opportunity to keep that client, but for whatever reason, the client didn't feel comfortable reaching out to them and going back and, you know, being honest. I remember actually I had a client, she was a new client. I think this was actually my second time that I had did her hair. I was doing her color and we were doing it at night, and so we weren't able to look at it in the natural light. It was just in the crappy salon lights. And everything looked good. She was happy with it. She left, went home, and then like a day or two later she reached out to me on Instagram, and you could tell she was like, you know, felt bad and was like a little bit nervous, but she was like, I went home and like, you know, looking at my hair in natural light, I just noticed like a couple spots that look like a little bit brassy, like I feel like the toner didn't really take. Is there any way that I could like maybe come in so you could just take a look at it? You know, I don't mean to be a pain. It was, you know, like one of those kind of messages. And I was like, oh my God, absolutely. Like, please, I appreciate you so much for being honest with me and for reaching out, because she could have easily gone to somebody else and had them fix it. But instead, I was like, no, please come back in, let me take a look. There was one little spot that was just like a little bit gold. The toner just like didn't take there. Maybe I didn't saturate that spot well enough. And in indoor lighting, you couldn't really tell, but when she would go outside, it was definitely noticeable. So she just came in, I put a little bit of toner just on that one spot. It was a really quick, easy fix, and she was so happy after that. And she is now a regular client. She keeps coming back. And that moment right there was a make it or break it point, because had I been really defensive and just been like, well, you were happy when you left, what are you talking about? Like, it's probably just the lighting that you're looking at it in. It's totally fine. That would have left a really bad taste in her mouth, and she probably would have never come back to me again after that. There was actually a stylist that I used to work with when I first graduated beauty school, and I remember she had somebody come in for color, and the stylist did not show her her hair until after it was like completely finished and styled. She had put curls in it and all that kind of stuff. I freaking hate when people do that. And that's another thing too. That's another way that you can show that you have integrity and that you're honest and transparent with your clients. I let them see their hair. I understand when it's wet, when you're doing color, you don't want them to like freak out because it can look a lot darker when it's wet. But once it's dry, I show them their hair. I spin them around, I let them see every single angle of it, I lift it up, I show them like all throughout when it's just like down and straight, so they can see what the color truly looks like, they can see the blend, they can see the length of their cut, and then after that, I will style it and add some curls if they want. You can hide so many things by throwing some curls in their hair, and if you're not letting them see their hair until it's completely finished in curls, it just can sometimes like feel a little deceitful. But yeah, she didn't show her hair until after it was curled, and you know, it looked fine. She just looked at it real quick in the mirror at the salon and was like, okay, cool, great, left, was happy. A couple days later, she washed it and was styling it herself, and she noticed a whole bunch of uneven, splotchy, like unblended pieces. So she reached out to the stylist and she sent her pictures and was like, hey, I noticed these spots are like, you know, looking kind of unblended. Would you be able to fix this for me? And she got so defensive and was like, well, you loved it when you left here. Yeah, well, when she left the salon, her hair was in curls and she couldn't see it. And you know damn well that she noticed those splotchy spots when she was blow drying her. She just hoped that the client wouldn't notice. And so she was just defensive about it, and she like gave her an attitude. And so the client was super unhappy and never ended up coming back to her again after that. Meanwhile, she was totally happy with coming in and letting the stylist fix it for her. It wouldn't have been an issue, and I'm sure she would have come back to her after that had she fixed it. But because of her response and the way that she got super defensive and took it personally, she ended up losing a client over that. And potentially more than just that one client, because now that girl could have went and left a bad review online. She probably went and told all of her friends and family, like, yeah, don't go to this girl. You know, I had a terrible experience. Ended up going to another stylist, most likely to get it fixed, and probably told that stylist who messed her hair up in the first place. And so it's like, now word's gonna get around that you messed up somebody's hair and then weren't even willing to fix it. Now, as far as what do you do when they come back in, do you give them a refund? Do you fix it for free? Do you like just charge them for product? That obviously is gonna totally depend on the salon that you work in. If you're an employee at a salon, you don't have control usually over those things. You have to kind of just follow your boss's policies, and it obviously depends on the situation too. Like if it's something that was genuinely your fault, splotchy highlights, for example, that I think that you should fix for free. The other thing too that I want to mention is you have to obviously be able to kind of tell apart people who like have genuine concerns and then the people who are just trying to scam you and are just looking for like a discount or a free service, because those people exist. I've done a story time on a client that I had that I truly believe was just looking to get a discount because of how she acted, like even when she originally scheduled the appointment. So obviously you don't want people to take advantage and to walk all over you. So you kind of have to like find that fine line between having integrity, standing behind your work, wanting to please your clients, but also like not being a pushover and not letting people like walk all over you and take advantage. But anyway, those are my tips. That is my advice as far as what you should do if a client is unhappy. If you guys have any additional tips that you'd like to share, please leave them down below in the comments. I hope that this video was helpful. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe if you like this kind of content. I post videos every week and I would absolutely love to have you as part of my YouTube family. Also, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It helps my channel out a lot with the YouTube algorithm, and hopefully I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.